dealt with, both top-down and bottom-up, grassroots in.
And that's where the Shared Learning Center comes in, so that there's the opportunity for an SOS basically to go out to their water system. Or
this is coevolution, right? I mean, the way that developers should be evolving their wikis is actually pay attention to the practices and determine ways to amplify them. You know, I encourage experimentation.
I mean, and so yeah, it's a really important problem. I don't think any of the mechanisms I'm advocating are very sort of 2006 either. I think it's easy to overestimate sort of the difficulty of these public key crypto systems. I mean, SSL's widespread. We might want to think about ways.
And in the space that, in the technology, but also the movement space that I've been working on, we think of it very much as a commons.
About development side and contributing. I mean, even if it's just things like doing a logo for somebody, or you know, making a really good.
It hasn't scaled. I mean, it's had an impact.
Who did it? How much money it cost? If there's a step-by-step, I contact the person. But the biggest challenge is Tracy Williamson. The biggest challenge is
do something that's high profile so that it creates.
But I don't have the ability to come in and do that immediately complicated.
Well, yeah, what I'm imagining.
And so on.
I want the expert to consume me and then spit me up, and then I'm gonna consume him, and I want him to spit back, and then we want to get I'm already there.
Okay, but I had one more. I'm sorry, I had one more thought. Okay, no, I had one more. If you take the nodes of a wiki and put those on a Gantt chart, a Ganttized wiki of sorts. If they're, I've never seen one or heard of one. Okay, this conversation made
I
me
know
think
a
of
group
it.
that wants to build that, and
Really,
they,
you've heard of such a thing?
No, but I know that they need it, and I know that. And said I did it. I edited.
I'm going to take
he
a
knows
moment
this
of
process. and wants
convener's
it.
privilege here. And I'm going to ask that we have a moment of silence here.
That's clustering. That's the word I was looking for. Okay. Now we had a huge cluster that we built like Tektronix, and it was in instrumentation. And we still have a lot of instrumentation people that are wonderful.
Many things end up appearing out of the result of that conversation.
In the next session, there's a separation there that's important.
Why does that need to be separate?
I'm curious why
Have two
Because
groups.
I think
Maybe too large.
Maybe with large, but that will just cut. I don't know. That will just cut again techies and users.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
I'm not going to have to go to something else anyway, but I feel like I couldn't. Most of the conversation, the thinking conversation, is totally over my head. So I don't know what you're talking about. I can feel how important it is, but I don't know what it's talking about. So it's not a useful conversation.
I'd like to propose this then as a follow-up. If people feel like the mix is good, there are a lot of people here who are quiet, who are listening, and I'd be really interested to hear what whatever. So maybe if we want.
They want to figure out how to traumatize it. And so how are we doing it? Like, here's how I did it, so therefore you can do it my way. Or
This
Recent Changes Camp happened was birthed in a discussion that we had at the WikiSim, which was a conference that was attached to OOPSLA, an object-oriented programming conference that's academic and sort of traditional. We went down from around the United States and some across from Europe to the WikiSim conference, and we were kind of frustrated because it was $500 and there were big conference proceedings and you had to go through a whole paper and peer review process before you could hold a session. It wasn't like here where you could just say, I'm really passionate about this and let's have a conversation about it. We talked with the conference organizer, his name was Dirk, and he said, I like what you are doing and I believe in what you're doing, but my hands are sort of tied. I felt someone should be having a wiki conference and we did it here. And he said, but I encourage you all to organize a camp that's like these other foo and bar camps. And we sat around in a circle. It was Brandon Sanders, who was over there, and it was Ward Cunningham, and Dirk was there, and I was there. And we said, okay, we're going to do it. Brandon took the idea and ran with it. When we got to Portland, he immediately started organizing and collecting people together. And it really started coming together about 3 weeks before it happened, and here we are. There's plenty of sponsors that we're thankful to, and that's how it happened. Is that a good explanation?
What was it like organizing this convention?
It's basically just getting together once, and then people go in all different directions, figuring out how to add value wherever they could, without asking permission really, or anything like that. So I just did my little piece. I didn't really organize it. I just organized my little piece, which was finding the facilities and getting some sponsorship. And then everybody else kind of took care of all the other parts, like the tech setup and I did a few things like that. But it's just basically saying, all right, this is what I'd like to see there, and don't worry about it, guys. I'll go do it myself. And everybody doing that, and it just happened that way. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
I was one of the instigators of this. So what happened was a group of us were gathered down at WikiSim in San Diego back in October. And Brandon and Ted and several other people had come up in the wiki area, and which was a good time, so I hear. Right? A man all the way from, I think, Seattle all the way down to San Diego. And they came bringing sort of the open space religion to the conference, which actually, yes, that was the secret. Everyone was wearing those labels. John was part of the wiki band coming down.
And what is the open space religion?
Well, open space is a facilitation process, right? And it's a highly emergent, interactive facilitation process where you're basically, it's the people are the structure. Right? You're not imposing anything from the top down in terms of what people are supposed to talk about, who they're supposed to speak with. Right? People bring their own agendas to the table, and you let people sort of work. So it's lightly structured. So and it's actually like totally appropriate for the wiki community, because that's exactly how wikis work. But this WikiSim conference was not an unstructured conference. It was sort of your traditional academic, top-down, present your papers and that sort of thing. And so these guys came, and they were talking about open space with a lot of people, and they really wanted to see if WikiSim could become an open space conference. And so we were, it was the end of the workshop, and we were just casually hanging out and talking, and Ward was there. And so it was a group of us, and Brandon was asking, what can we do? And so the one minor contribution I made to this whole little shindig here was to basically say, well, why don't you throw your own gig? You don't have to wait for the organizers to do this sort of thing. There are models for putting together like cheap. There was something called Bar Camp, which was put together back in August in Palo Alto, which was a completely free gathering of folks who were interested to talk about stuff. And it's a model that's been replicated all over the place. So why don't you basically throw a Bar Camp for the wiki community where open space is the process? And they just latched onto that, and they just ran with it. So that's basically what happened. Cool.